Hello everyone. So I just want to talk about antisocial behaviour. Now this is many forms of antisocial behaviour. It's not just graffiti and inappropriate public behaviour. In some cases, people urinating in public places, etc., on trains and on buses. There's other kinds of it, obviously violence, etc. Verbal attacks on people, etc. Drunkenness too. And unfortunately, in Ireland, and just the case I'm talking about, I'll get to in a second. But just take for example, just a few things off, just straight off my head. In Irish Rail this year, even though Irish Rail is not a big, huge train network like across Europe, there's been a 50% increase in vandalism and other stuff and antisocial behaviour. In Irish Rail alone, and Dublin Bus has been a huge increase. Thankfully now they have private security and stuff the same with Irish Rail, but there should be a transport police, like from an Garda Síochána, like with people employed, like guards to go onto the buses, etc. Because it's just an epidemic of antisocial behaviour across many different categories, not just one category, it's many different categories. But still, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is the transport in this country, along with just public parks, I get into that in a second, is just not safe for people. The same as the whole country itself is just not safe. And we're not going to live in denial. People can see it, people have eyes. The politicians might try try and say, oh, yeah, there's nothing to be seen. But there is something to be seen. So just take what's happening in Cavan, and this is the talk of Cavan at the moment, along with me being Sanamown, of course. But the talk of the town is, and the talk of Cavan town particularly, and everybody's talking about it, is the Cavan town. And beside Cavan Institute, if you know Cavan town, just outside of the Consummates Park near the Cavan Institute, there's a playground there. I used to play myself when I was younger, when I was very young. And it was always very safe. And unfortunately, over the last few years, it's become like in lateral gout, it's become a hellhole. Now, a few years, actually about a year ago or so, the council were discussing about having a park ranger. Nothing ever came off that, but they should consider this time. But what I'm trying to say is, the council have taken the decision to close the park from 5. I think it's 5 o'clock in the evening to, and all night, pretty much until about 10 o'clock. I think in the morning or something like that. Mainly because of antisocial behaviour, different kind of things, drugs, etc. There's a few other things. I could go into details, but we're not going to go into details. But what I'm trying to say is, and a lot of people do say it, and a lot of people in Cavan are saying it, there's capitulation pretty much. The council capitulated. That and the councillors capitulated too. Like none of them are willing to fight it, and that's what you should be doing as councillors, because it's not moving it's moving the problem. Because these people, if they're not going to do it in the park, they're going to go somewhere else. Let's be fair, they'll go down the street, to go a mile away. They're going to go somewhere else. It's just moving the problem. The only way to really deal with it, and to be totally honest, what I would do, I know the councillors don't have the power, but they should be telling the Gardaí, because they would sit in the joint policing committee, they have a say. They might not have total say, but they have a say. They sit in the policing committee, they're allowed to say to the guards, do this or do that. They're allowed to kind of say, if they all came together and said it, the guards would have to kind of act. Particularly the joint policing committee. There's a reason why they sit in joint policing. They're not there to sit there and look pretty. But if I was on the joint policing committee, I'd be saying to the Gardaí, I'd be saying to the justice system, even councils, we should be getting these people and making them do a hard day's work. What I mean by that is we make them clean up Cavan Town and do different things, community service, pay back to the community, and we walk them around the clock pretty much. We walk them hard, we walk them fierce hard. And at the end of the day, they won't be able to commit antisocial behaviour, because when they get home in the evening, they won't be able to get out of bed because they'll be that tired, they'll be that walked to the bone. And that's what we do, and we take the energy out of them. Let's put it that way. That's the way it should be. Hard punishment, hard physical labour. Or just send them to prison for a few years. Or we send them off to the army. We could send them off to the army. The army are looking for recruits. We send them off to the army to put some manners on them. But it's the fact of the matter, I know the council tried a few other things. I will give them credit on it. But there was no will, and we have to ask ourselves, none of the councils seem to cop this on either, that it's not just in the back end of Norwood in some rural town in Cavan. The Garda station, the main Garda station in County Cavan, the district headquarters in County Cavan, Cavan Town Garda Station, it's only 2 minutes down the road. So what are the Gardaí doing? Are the Gardaí asleep in the Guards barracks? What are they doing? Because they're very quick to come when somebody's not paying their TV licence, but when it's something to do with violence or anything in Cavan, they all seem to be they take their time. It's many cases in Cavan, burglaries in County Cavan, the Gardaí are taking hours to turn up. Because again, they just do what they do. In the majority of cases, they do what they do with the paperwork. There's a lot of young Gardaí in Cavan that just couldn't be bothered to do a lot of the work. And then the people who are there, they're doing their best, and then the judge, they go up to the courts, the judge lets them off for it. So I wouldn't really blame them too for that attitude, because I probably would be the same if I got somebody for a crime and then done up all the paperwork and went to court and the judge lets them off for it. So the judges in this county too are not much tradition, to be totally honest with you. But what I'm trying to say is capitulation is not the option, really, in a way. Because we should have tried to fight this. Because at the end of the day, for somebody not paying their TV license, there's no way the government would capitulate and say, "Oh, we'll let them off with it," or the justice system or the Gardaí, they would let them off with it. They'll be very quick on the baton with that. Like the Gardaí, as I say, we see with people protesting outside the wet provision centres, Gardaí straight away come out with their batons and beat up old women. And when people are causing trouble, they won't get the batons out. They're too afraid to do it. So it doesn't make much sense. But sure, look, that's the country we live in. But what I'm trying to say, the only way to meet this, being nicey with these people and that are causing trouble, because again, they're attacking their community. If the graffiti public property, that's costing the taxpayer money, you and I, the people who go out to work. And not even that too, people should feel safe, and nobody feels safe, unfortunately. And our Lord Mayor Cavan thinks Cavan is a safe place. It's the second most dangerous county in the country, but it's a safe place going by him. But I don't know where he's been living, but from where I'm standing in this situation too, it's not really showing it's a safe place. Just to say, it'd be different if we were trying to fight this, then we could argue that we're trying to get a reputation back as a county, because it looks terrible at the moment, sitting councillors just to say that this is what's been said around the country, not just in Cavan, around the country, that Cavan is the second most dangerous county in Ireland. Think about that for a second. There's a lot to be said, and I feel very ashamed of that. We should be fighting every day for these councillors. I don't know what they'll be doing, but they're not doing anything, seems to be. But I know they have very limited power, but they have collective power when they all get together and decide, yeah, this is not going. We're not going to tolerate this. Start kicking the guard, like the guard, the superintendent. Start pushing him to do some work and get some results. Or the judges, start kicking them and start getting results. But again, they're sitting there and they're not really getting any results, and that's what the majority of people are thinking. There's no results. There's no people. As I say, the proper thing would be to do. The one suggestion I would make is either make them do hard labour or send them into the army. That's the two solutions. To put manners on them, simple as that. But as I say, even to the people who are doing this and stuff, people that know do at these social behaviour, etc., drinking in public, etc., underage drinking, and even take for example people urinating in parks, etc. You respect other people. It's not, if you don't have respect for yourself, respect the community, respect other people, respect their children and elderly people, and especially this. Take for example the playground. It's for children. It's for children. Like, have some kind of decency and have some kind of respect. Even if you don't have respect for yourself, have some decency for children and stuff. Like, that's all society asks of you. Just have some kind of small decency. If you want to be cause trouble and stuff, go and do it in your house, because they won't do their house. They won't do any harm to their house, but they will do it to public property, etc. for the average taxpayer. It doesn't make any sense and achieves nothing. I don't know why they do these kind of things, but the mind boggles. But but it's not just even the case, and this is the reason why I'm talking about it. It's just on trains and stuff and buses. It's not, a lot of people rely on trains and buses. Some people are terrified to go on them, and it's really a sad thing to have to say about this country. It's really a sad thing, and we do have to improve. And I do say to people who do this, please reflect on your actions. You can be always better. You can always do something better in life. There's something to do for your community, for yourself too, not even for the community. Think of yourself too, that you shouldn't be doing these actions, and you should reflect, and that's all I say. But I say to the wider community too, we shouldn't let our councillors and our Gardaí and stuff be complacent and be capitulate. That's what I would say, and to the councillors too, of Cavan, I would say to them too, we have to stop being, because again, the majority of people see this as capitulation, that the councillors basically just capitulate and said, call it the day, go home. That's really it. There's no saying we're going to try and do something about this, we're going to try and fight it. There was no, maybe there was in the council chamber behind closed doors, but as far as I know, the majority of people in Cavan just kind of sat down and said, I give up, and that's went home for the day. But it'd be different if the public seen there was action. But from even my point of stand, there was no really action. There was a few things done, and they didn't work. But the public don't see there was anything. They just kind of give up. And everybody, pretty much everybody, I only talked to one person who said that the council were right to do this at night time. There was no sense of having it open during the night. But the whole point of and it went over his head, the whole point of the matter is they shouldn't have to do this in the first place. That's the thing. For years, since the park was put there, it never had to be done. I never remember it ever being done. So it's a very bad state to have to say that it had to be done in 2025. It's a terrible thing to have to say. But I do hope we can get on top of this as a county, as people too. Because it's not just the councils, it's the people of Cavan that matters. They're the most important. And particularly the young people. It's important that we don't let our parks and our society turn into hell. And unfortunately our society and our parks and our public spaces have turned into hell. Because people have let our councillors off for too much, or even our TDs, even on God is Sheena Condon, we basically have lowered the bar of what we expect from our authorities. And that's unacceptable, even Bus Éireann and other agencies of the state. People are paying for buses, people are paying for trains, they're not getting on it for nothing. They have entitlement to stay, to be safe, and not to be annoyed and to be upset, and not to fear going to work on buses and stuff, public transport. But anyway, let me know what you think, subscribe for more, and bye.